Ladies and gentlemen, if you are out there right now, make sure that you do drop a comment below, share where you're tuning in from so that Byron and I can know who we're speaking to, where in the country you're from, and who we're talking to. So, let's introduce this powerhouse right now. In just a second. Before that, this specific episode of the 12-Hour Marathon is brought to you by EmployeeEscapePlan.com, www.EmployeeEscapePlan.com. And if you want to help your business, grow your business, expand, grow yourself, impact more people, and really make a difference in your life and more people's lives, then Employee Escape Plan will definitely help you do that. Let Joe know Chris sent you. Again, that's www.EmployeeEscapePlan.com. Byron Ingraham. He's a business strategist, best-selling author, speaker, and podcaster. As a business strategist, he has helped businesses globally. As a business strategist, Byron works with business owners and entrepreneurs to develop the business and marketing processes to attract and retain ideal clients. Byron's gift is developing business strategies, linking the missing pieces together in a business to create success. His focus is on creating integrated marketing strategies that encompass every part of a business. When each part of a business works together in unison towards a specific goal, objectives can be achieved faster than any one part working alone. Byron is a veteran of the U.S. Air Force, where he specialized in developing businesses around the globe located on Air Force installations. His methods led to winning numerous awards for performance and top-performing organizations. Byron, you ready to rock this?
Of course. I was born ready.
Dude, born ready, baby. Born ready.
That's right.
How are you doing today, bro?
I'm awesome, man. How about yourself?
Oh, loving life, man. Blessed, and thank you so much for taking time out of your schedule to be here with us to give value, share some wisdom with our audience so that we can grow and be our greatest possible selves. Thank you, man.
Oh, you're welcome.
Awesome, awesome. So we're going to dive into your story and your journey in just a second. Before that, our theme of the day is the holiday season. So you might be thinking, okay, the holiday season, that's kind of what everyone else is thinking about right now, but we're going to take a little bit of a different angle to it. In the holiday season, Byron, what is it that you think people don't really get about the holiday season? Where do you think people fall short and they're not really grasping the true nature of it and really getting the most out of it to become their greatest possible selves?
I think when it comes to the holiday season where people are not getting everything out of it, it comes down to one simple idea, one simple notion, and that's gratitude. Because we get into this mindset of we have to go to this store to buy this, we have to go in the shopping frenzy, instead of realizing what is it that we have in our lives, because there's people out there who don't have anything. You look at the different disasters in the world where some people, they could care less about all the different toys in the world. All they really want is, let's say, electricity. Yeah, and when we go through our day-to-day lives and forget about some of these things that we have. And then if we're a business owner, we sometimes get so caught up in it, we forget that we're doing these amazing things for our clients, and how can we do more to give instead of just buy? How can we make things a better situation for somebody else? That's what we have to focus in on.
It's beautiful, man. I love that perspective. Gratitude is so important, especially coming from Thanksgiving. If you celebrate that out there, going into the holiday season, December and Christmas, Hanukkah, whatever you celebrate, New Year's, going into there, starting the new year, 2018, with that foundation of being grateful for whatever happened in 2017 and then being grateful for all that is to come in 2018. That's beautiful, Byron. Thank you for sharing your perspective. And let's start diving into your journey, man. How did you get to where you are today, winning all these awards, crushing it in business, helping people get an aligned, connected marketing system and process and sales systems and all that good stuff? How did you get here, man? What were some of the challenges you had to go through?
Well, getting there, I think it was all an adventure in itself, because I always known that I have this passion for business. How can I help people do more? But at the same time, I grew up in Chicago and I wanted to be able to see the world. So I thought, well, what's one way to do it? Well, the Air Force sounds like a great way. So sure, why not? It's a great plan. And it worked great because I got to experience things differently. Because you think about business, with the way that most people go through it, you have a very siloed view towards the customer base that you're working with. That you're only working with, let's say, if you're in Texas, where I'm at, you're only working with people that are here. Or if you're, let's say, in California, it's one type of person. And because of that, you don't necessarily see all the different styles. But because of being in different places, I had to constantly adapt my business style with how I'm going to market and promote. What are the things that people want? So it was really a great lab to be in, to experiment and figure out what's different about people. Like the ways that you would want to connect with people in Europe is going to be different than here. And just like within Europe alone, the people that were from Northern Europe were different from Southern Europe. And it's the same thing if you look at how you connect with people in the U.S., people from let's say the Northeast versus the West Coast, totally different. So you have to change your approach, and then you really came into that mindset of, in order to make marketing work effectively, you have to know exactly who your customer is and develop everything to resonate with them. Because, let's just say that you want to sell suntan lotion, or something like that, things that we need to cover our heads, and it's really important because sunburn up there really hurts.
Yep.
Coming from firsthand experience. But you wouldn't necessarily want to market that as much, let's say, someone in December in New York City, where they're thinking it's snowing, it's cold, I want to stay warm, versus someone, let's say they're in South Florida, where to them they might still want to use it. So it's knowing the different things, and it allowed me to do that very effectively. And once I got out of the Air Force, I dived into just helping entrepreneurs because I wanted to help businesses grow. Because what I did for a little while, this was one of the fun parts, I went into the financial planning world because I thought, well, this is a great way to help people. But then I discovered something. Most people, they were investing in hope, that they hoped that if they put away enough, over time they'd have enough saved up to last their retirement. And there was nothing worse than back in 2008, 2009, seeing people's money just bottom out, where overnight half their stuff was gone, and having to break that news to people saying, I'm sorry, Mr. and Mrs. Smith, you're not going to retire this year. It's going to be at least 4 or 5 years. And to see the look on their face, like, I don't know if we can do that. Or the people that they saved for 20 years to pay for the kids' college, and then have to tell them, I'm sorry, you're going to have to take out student loans to pay for college. And that made me think there has to be a better way to use this knowledge in my head than just getting people to put away something. And I thought, well, why not help people build a business? Because then if you have revenue streams for all the things that you want to do, then it doesn't matter how everything else is going, because then you'll have a check, for, let's say, to pay for your mortgage, so one for your food and fun, one for travel, or whatever. So then it doesn't matter what else is going on, because your needs are constantly being taken care of, and you don't have to hope that things move in one direction. Yeah. So it changes the philosophy. And then if you want to increase how much you're bringing in, get another customer.
Yep. Simple, right?
Simple. Exactly.
So straightforward. Like, get either more customers to pay you more money, or get them to pay you more often, right? Like, those are 3 ways to grow a business. I love that. And I also hear Omar Briones say, Byron, what's up?
What's up, Omar?
Cool, dude. We love Omar. Omar's a great guy. He's going to be coming on the show soon. So awesome. And, Byron, you had me, speaking of shows, you had me on your show. And I'm curious, like, what's that journey been like of starting a podcast show? What have been some of the challenges of doing that, and what's your vision with it? Why'd you do it?
I did it because I thought this is a great way to not only connect with people, but to share knowledge, to share stories. Because I was looking at the podcasting arena and just the whole media place in general. What most people would typically hear are just the stories from people who are already where they want to be at. So you just have this small pot of people making the podcast tours, I like to call it. Well, that's great and all, but so many people, because they're so far ahead in the journey, that person who's just getting started can't relate to them. So I thought, well, why don't we change this up a little bit? Get some people that are a little bit closer to the starting line. Because if you hear stories from someone that maybe it started 6 months ago or a year ago. Well, that person can still connect. Like, that person's just like me. They were just where I'm at right now, not too long ago, versus, oh, they got started 15 years ago. Well, they're in a different league. So it changes the dynamics and starts increasing that hope, that possibility that someone has, that belief they need to be able to achieve. Because so many people, that's what's lacking, is the belief in themselves. So if you can believe that you can do it, well, then you're 80% of the way there.
Yeah, I love that you said that. Something that's really been coming up a lot for me lately, and people are saying it and resonating with it, is like we can attempt to enroll people in why we will fulfill on our end of the bargain, why they can trust us, build that rapport with us. But a lot of times they're so skeptical and afraid and just doubting of themselves. So as a marketer, as a business owner, entrepreneur, one of the biggest things that we can do is help them to believe in themselves. So do you have any suggestions or techniques or ways that you go about helping your prospective clients or clients believe in themselves more?
Oh, yes. For some people, it's something as simple as get off your butt and insert whatever other word you want to put in there and do it already. Because people, you just have to be direct and give them that little bit of a push to know that it's going to be okay. And then for other people, because they want to make things a little too complicated, like it's really simple, you just can't tell them to do it because they're still stuck in this state of mind, like, oh my gosh, there's all this. And that's when you just have to pull out the dry erase marker, walk over to the board and write out, it's step 1, 2, 3. Go do it. And they're like, wait, that's it? Because they're trying to think that it's something more complicated. No, it's just these 3 things. And then once they do it, now they realize, like, I was making it out to be way harder than it needed to be. I'm like, yep. So that's really all I'd say in terms of getting going. Sometimes you just need to either have someone push you through it, kind of like, let's say you're going to jump out of a plane. There's that initial hesitation and you just need a swift kick in the rear to get you out the door. And other times you just need someone to break down where you're having that confusion, that lack of knowledge, or thinking it's more complicated. Here's those simple steps. It's like baking a cake. Add 2 cups of flour, add this. You cannot screw it up if you follow the directions.
Right. That's what they're there for. That's what the instructions are there for. And I really, really love how you said, sometimes it's just like people need a kick in the butt. And oftentimes people are overcomplicating things. So why do you think that people overcomplicate business? Why do they stay stuck? They stay stuck in their head. And what can they do to really pull themselves out of that and get into action? Is there any kind of habit that they can build? Obviously, you just do it, right? But is there anything, any structure for support or way that you've recommended that your clients get into action easier, more frequently?
There's 2 things that I recommend. One is expanding your knowledge. So that is learning about the things that are holding you back. So, for example, a lot of people are just deathly afraid of speaking into a camera. Well, usually, sometimes the same people are deathly afraid of speaking in front of a group of people. So you have to get back to the root of the cause and to, well, what do you need to do about this? In this instance, I'll tell some people, just create a small group of circle of friends on Facebook, create a little small group there, and then go live to those people who are going to give you that valuable feedback, which for some, it's that fear of rejection. So if you only have those few people who are close to you and they give you that level of encouragement, that support, it helps you realize, like, well, that wasn't that bad. And then you can do bigger and bigger audiences. So then it's not a big deal. Or some people, they think that it's weird to look at it at a camera and there's not someone in front of you. Well, then look, like how we're communicating here, you find someone that's going to want to listen to you on the other side, and you do a Skype call, you FaceTime with someone, and then you realize, like, oh, it's really not that big of a deal.
Yeah. I've found that just communicating with people over a voice or over a video call online. Let's say I was new entrepreneur. I found that connecting with people video to video helped me get comfortable with that platform, with that medium, and I could just be self-expressed. I could share about my doubts and my fears, whatever, and just not try to be this person who has it all together. But if I'm seeing someone in face-to-face, it really makes a difference.
Exactly. That's what makes all the difference in the world. But here's the other thing, which I think is extremely powerful for people to begin doing, and that is model others. Make a list of what are all the things that people are doing. You find like, I really like the way that this person does that. Make a list of them, and then ask yourself, well, what do you need to do to begin doing those things? That's what's really needed, because then when you accomplish this and you do it over and over again, you find that, oh, those things are really not that hard to do, and you can do it very easily.
Yeah, I love it. I love it. So modeling, everyone out there listening, model, model, model. Who are the people that you want to model? What are the things that you want to model about them? What's the specific aspect? Create a list of 3 to 5 things or people that you really want to transform in. Like, think about your own business. What really needs to be done in your own business? Is it a lead magnet you need? Is it a marketing system? Is it your branding? Is it the way you show up? Is it systems? Who knows, right? Find that model, the person who's doing it the way you want it to do the research. A lot of people just kind of want to wing it. Don't wing it. Do the research. No. Find out. Don't reinvent the wheel, right? A lot of people are trying to reinvent the wheel. That's like, oh my God.
Right. I jokingly like to say there's very few times when it's okay to just wing it. Like for example, if you're going to a buffet, that's a good time to kind of wing it, because there's a lot of choices there. Right. like I'm not sure what I'm going to get. Sample it all.
Yeah.
But
Exactly.
for the most part in life, you need to have a plan of how you're going to get from point A to point B.
So, Byron, was there anywhere in your business where you felt like you kind of were winging it before, and then you transformed that into a more effective system, and then you were able to see some real benefits from that, just so you can give our audience an example, or clients, if you've helped clients do this same thing of they were winging it, they were just like going by whatever flowed, however they felt that day, and then you help them put in some systems, and those results transformed.
I'll give you a great example. When I first started to podcast, because of course, you figure out, here's your strategy of what you're going to do, and I think I have it figured out. But then what started to occur is I'd have all these questions. I'm going to talk about this, and then after the first one, I realized I don't feel like really going through the rest of these. Screw it. I'll just go with whatever comes out of my mouth at that point. So I started winging it, because I really didn't know that wasn't how I wanted to have the flow come in place. But then as I started doing interview after interview, I realized there is a flow that I wanted.
Yeah.
And there's a pattern that I knew that based on who I was talking to, what the stories were. But the path to get there, it was fluid. It wasn't, here's the 7 questions I must ask to get to this point. It could have been 1 question. It could have been 15. I would not know. But I would always go in, here's the destination. How I get there, it will be determined as I go, because I do not know what they're going to say, and I have to be responsive and reactive to get them to that point. So that's how I mold it from being just winging it to, here's the actual structure. I already know the destination, but the exact path is going to be determined based on the conversation, because I don't know what they're going to say. It's not like it's highly structured. Like, here are the 15 prepared questions and answers, and you're going to read them. Like, no, we don't have teleprompters or anything like that.
And
that
stops the flow of the conversation. If you're like, okay, that was great, and completely different topic, like, boom.
Right, exactly. So it's more powerful in that aspect. But that was like the only time I'd say I winged it, quote unquote. But because the style didn't fit, and I had to adjust on the fly. And that's the other thing too about a lot of plans, where you have to be good at in terms of improvising, because no matter what you do, every best laid plan is subject to change.
Yep.
No matter how much you can have everything planned down to the exact detail, it's almost a guarantee something is not going to go according to plan. You're like, well, that's inconvenient, and you have to adapt and overcome.
Yeah, and you mentioned something earlier about having an outcome for your podcasts, for your interviews, your episodes. I'm curious if you can, one, share like what some of those outcomes that you set are, that you set as targets for those interviews, because I'm curious. I set outcomes for this, and make 3 promises that everyone in the audience gets value, that every guest who comes on the show, they make a meaningful difference in at least one person's life, and then throughout my 12 hours on here, I make a meaningful difference in at least one person's life. So I'm curious, what are some objectives that you've set for your podcast, and then what are some objectives that we might set as business owners, as entrepreneurs, to be able to make that progress, to be able to achieve those outcomes? What are some common outcomes? So first the podcast, then as entrepreneurs, everyone listening.
Okay, so the big outcome for every episode is to pull out one thing that someone can take action. Because one of the problems that you hear in different podcasts is people get so much knowledge, like, well, now what do I do? Because there's that state of overwhelm, and they're not sure. But you said all these amazing nuggets, but I don't know where to start. So by asking them the question, to pick one thing, then it makes it substantially easier. Well, if I have to pick one, let it be that one thing. So it gives someone direction, so it minimizes that state of overwhelm. So if they begin there, then they can start going through everything else they hear. But when you start putting all the podcasts together and you hear that one thing constantly, you'll start noticing a pattern that, oh, well, these 5 people said something very similar. That resonates with me. Or those 10 people said something. So you'll start seeing patterns, which makes it easier for someone to realize that there's only so many ways of getting there, but there's just slight variations to a particular path. Because we each do it in our own individual way, but we're still using similar blueprints in terms of we have to know our destination. We have to have a plan in place. We have to know our whys in life. But outside of that, everything is fluid.
That's awesome. So that applies to people who are listening, entrepreneurs, business owners, whatever it might be, is know your why, know where you want to get to, what is your year goal, what is your 90-day goals, and that'll help you determine what that outcome is of your task, right? So it's like a really big, open-ended, loaded question, right? Like, what's your outcome?
Right. Right.
But like, seriously, how do you break down those big things into bite-sized steps? And I think that's something as business coaches and coaches to entrepreneurs and big visionaries we are good at, because those dreamers get so paralyzed by the bigness of what they're up to, and all the excitement. Their head's in the clouds, right? And they're like, oh my gosh, this is going to be awesome. And it's our responsibility as coaches to bring them back down to, okay, that's great. I'm so stoked that you got this big vision and you're creating it. I believe in you. You believe in yourself. Wonderful. Now what are you doing this week? And let's hold you accountable to it. Like let's like put it in stone, baby, because if you don't take those actions, then that dream is just a wisp, it's gonna fall right through your fingers.
Right. You mentioned something there. I think people have to grasp onto. It's that constant action. But sometimes in terms of the action, the things where we want to do these goals, we start looking and think, this is so huge. You get in a state of panic and overwhelm and realize, break it down into small chunks. Like, think of it this way, like a staircase that, here's the end destination. You start breaking it down. Well, what are the steps, each step along the way to get there? So what's the most basic thing you need to do? All right, there's your foundation. And you start building it up. So then it's never a state of overwhelm. So you always know you're moving in a forward direction that's getting you there, versus trying to say, okay, I'm going to eat this elephant at once, open wide, and you're just having a nightmare suddenly.
I love it, man. Cool. So, ladies and gentlemen, you heard it from Byron. One step at a time. Break the big vision down into bite-sized chunks. That's gold, man. Gold.
Oh, yeah.
So, how do you see people self-sabotaging themselves, and what can you give us to prepare ourselves to stop self-sabotage?
One of the biggest things I see today of how people self-sabotage is they compare themselves to others.
Wow.
You look at people that they're going to compare, like someone's chapter 10 to their chapter 1, like they're further along, or you're going to run a marathon and it's your first one, and next to you see that person that might weigh 100 pounds soaking wet, and a gust of wind blows by and they're like running at Mach 1 or suddenly.
Right.
Like, but they've been running their whole lives. You can't compare yourself to them, because to them they're like, this is just a normal day in the walk in the park. And you're like, what? Because they're at a different stage of the journey. So the only person that you really should compare yourself with is look in your mirror. So instead of thinking about you're running a race, think about if you're playing golf. The only person you're competing against is yourself the entire time, because it's based off of your actions. What someone else does has zero impact on what you do. So that's how you can shift your perspective. So then don't worry about what other people are doing. Just ask yourself one simple thing. Did I take an action that moved me one step closer to where I want to be at?
That's beautiful. How do you celebrate personally, and how do you recommend your clients celebrate when you do take that step forward? Like, what's the way that you acknowledge the momentum, acknowledge the step forward, and create a space for more of them to show up?
For each person, it's something that's different. Like for me, I like to do something that's fun, like go to the movies, go out to eat somewhere, just something that's just different. I don't allow myself to do it unless I accomplish something. Yeah. So it becomes that reward, that treat, like, yeah, okay, I did these things, I'm going to go and do that. So that's just the bigger things. But then other times it could just be something fun, like, all right, I'm just going to go and spend 20 minutes playing with my cat, for example, because I accomplished the goals for the day. So it doesn't have to be anything that's super extravagant. It just be something like, I'm not going to worry about anything else going on. I'm just going to be present in this moment and have fun and not care about anything. So it can be just something that simple. So it just depends on who you are, of what you enjoy doing. So what I like to do for fun is going to be different than someone else. It might be like, hey, I'm going to go do a couple extra workouts today just because I can. And it's something celebratory. Or, I'm going to buy something different. Like, all right, that one shirt I was looking at, I told myself I'm not going to buy that until I do blank. Yeah. And I did it. Guess what? Getting a new shirt.
Awesome.
So it's something that it feels good to you, that it's rewarding. It's a positive sensation. That's the most important thing you do, because you want it to have the rewards be something that it's a net positive. Because some people, what they're going to do is they're going to reward themselves with something that's not necessarily good for them. Like, all right, I'm going to go out and slam 10 beers. Well, then you feel terrible afterwards, and then you go into this downward spiral, versus you want to make it something you look forward to, and then it helps to propel you even further. Yeah. So use those things to keep leapfrogging you forward, instead of you celebrate something and then you're like, oh, I shouldn't have done that. Well, duh. So you keep things in that positive manner.
Wow. That's awesome. And ladies and gentlemen, we heard it, that it's that single step forward and celebrating that with whatever is going to keep you moving forward, the net positive. I love that, because you're right. So many people are out there and they go self-sabotage themselves with their celebration. And that's not the point of the celebration. How can you? It's like disciplining yourself with the actions. Great, and then you celebrate that. Awesome. Woohoo, yippee. And then you can also discipline yourself with your success and your celebration, and make that even propel you even further, and learn, program yourself in your mind to truly just fall in love with the process of two positives, right? That net positive effect.
Right. Exactly. That's the biggest thing that we can do to keep propelling ourselves forward, because why do something if it's going to knock us down and take us in the wrong direction? It doesn't do any good for any of us when we do that.
Doesn't, man. Doesn't. So we're talking about like different ways that these entrepreneurs can succeed. I'm curious, Byron, do you have a truth that you live by about business or entrepreneurship that you feel is pretty universal? Or it doesn't have to be universal, it's just something that you really stand for and is important to you? Do you have anything like that, like a core belief or mantra or paradigm that you really hold to?
It's very simple. I just told myself everybody has a gift, but it's up to each person to decide to share it on a daily basis. Because you think about it, we all have different life experiences, different things that we've learned, things that we can share, that when we put our message out there, it can inspire somebody to make a different choice. And if we're not doing that, then we're being selfish, and that's affecting someone else's life in a negative way. So that's why I say always put your gift out there, because you never know whose life you're going to impact because of it. It can be a few simple words, or it could be a podcast episode, it could be a video, it could be something, but you never know the impact you're going to have in a positive way in someone's life.
That's awesome. And today the topic was about the gifts, right? So how do you see people squandering their gifts, and how do you help people recognize their gift to be able to share them?
One of the ways I see people squandering their gifts is because it goes back to that belief system. Because so many people along the way, they didn't have the right mentors, the right peer group that was going to help lift them up, where you had people that were self-sabotaging, the negative, the Debbie Downers and so on, saying, oh, why would you want to do that? So it pulls them down back into the crab bucket where they can't climb out, versus being around the people who thrive on success because they want to create bigger and bigger things. And so that's where you have to shift your focus on being around the people that want to do more. You have to crave it. You have to crave it in the same way that you do other things. Like, I use the basic analogy because it's something we all need: air. When you start treating the things that you want to accomplish, like sharing your gift as important as breathing, well, then you're going to make a whole lot of effort to do it, because you're not going to walk around trying to hold your breath all day, because it's not going to work. So why hold in your gift in the same fashion?
Wow, that's incredible, man. And you know, I can totally speak to this personally, because I spent a lot of years of my life believing that I didn't have anything really to offer to the world. Like, my highest calling was playing video games, right? My highest calling was going out and partying, and really wound me up in some dark, scary places.
Right.
And after hitting rock bottom and making commitment to myself that, you know, I'm not going to throw my life away, like owning my gift, I can see so much joy and
Right.
pleasure and fulfillment, and everyone around me is just gravitating towards that. They're magnetized towards that. So how do you encourage our audience to be more magnetic to success, to you know, having a great life?
For starters, become a student of success. Look at the patterns. What are people doing who are successful right now? And then begin mirroring them. If they're reading, say, a book a week, guess what? Start reading a book a week. Yep. If it means that they're not watching TV, goodbye cable bill. So it's all a matter of success leaves those clues, and you start modeling them. And then you start realizing some of the people around you who you thought were your friends are really not. And that you realize there's people who are around you like, I need to hang out with that person more. And it's a little eye-opening and scary, because we go through this life thinking that, oh, yeah, we always have fun. We do these amazing things. And then you have to ask yourself that hard question. Well, what else do you do? And most people are like, well, we just go to the bar, we hang out, but that's it. There's no deep conversations. And like, well, why would we ever go travel somewhere? It does be a train wreck. If you start looking from that perspective, or if the only thing that you can think of is, well, we drink a lot, then you probably need to find some new friends. Yeah. Because if they're not inspiring you to be more than who you are today, are they really the people that you want to have around you? And here's another way of looking at it, because this is something that you see over and over again. The true way that you can tell who your friends are is have something disastrous happen in your life. Because then you're going to notice who are the people that will stick by you through when it's thick and just a total disaster, and the ones who are fair weather friends. Because the ones that are there for you when you're at rock bottom, they're still going to be there when you're at the top.
Beautiful.
But so many times we focus on having the people that are there just when we're at the top, because they only want to be around when it's nice and sunny. But life isn't that way, as you know. It's the big roller coaster. Sometimes like, yes, I'm on top of the world. And other times like, well, this is inconvenient. I have a shovel and I need to start filling in this hole because I dug myself a little too deep.
Yep.
And that true friend is going to be like, all right, let me get a shovel and start helping you there. Right. Or as some people jokingly say is that a true friend, like let's say your fair weather friends, they're gonna be the ones like, oh, that sucks. So and so ended up like in trouble. That true friend is gonna be like, so how do we end up in this mess again? Because they're right there with you.
Yep. How did we? I love it. That we.
Right.
That's
exactly
such a key part of leadership too. Like so many people are saying you, pointing to their staff, pointing to their employees,
right,
pointing to their team. And when we come from this we place, that simple shift in perspective of responsibility.
Right.
Like, this is us. This is our team. How did we get to this place? How did we, even though we delegated the task to this person, how did we not get this accomplished versus
exactly.
how did you not get this accomplished is a completely different perspective.
Right, exactly. Because it's much easier for someone to shift the blame to someone else instead of asking themselves, what could they have done differently to prevent that particular outcome? How could they have stepped up? How could they, let's say, provided more instructions, provided more resources, help them with the project themselves, instead of saying, well, that person just failed it. Well, you just kind of said go and do it, and you didn't do anything beyond that, of course that's going to happen. And that's kind of like saying to let's say a 5-year-old, go ahead and make dinner, and you didn't tell them anything else. I'm pretty sure you're not going to like the results.
Oh my gosh, yeah, that's going to be an interesting surprise.
Yeah, like wow, it looks so great. Inside you're thinking, let's order pizza.
Right. Okay, cool. So, Byron, we're talking about some really great stuff here, and I'm curious, like, what was one of the most challenging moments that you had to go through to get to where you are today? What was one of the most challenging setbacks or really painful learning lessons that you had to go through?
I think one of those big learning lessons, it was when I turned back the clock and I had just got out of the Air Force, and it was doing things differently suddenly, because then it was a controlled population. All the people I was dealing with said, hey, let's go do this. Like, sounds like a great idea. Let's do it. Yeah. And that was pretty much the extent of it, versus now you're in this big open world and you can say, let's do this. And they look like, I don't want to. Like, what do you mean? This is a great idea. So at that point I realized, oh, so you mean the whole population's not this way? Crap. So that was an eye-opening experience that I just started changing the people I needed to be around, because I no longer had that exclusive group that I could automatically plug into. I had to now create my own. And that was a big eye-opener, because you just kind of think that, oh, everybody does this. I mean, here's another example. Like, you just think, well, that's just common sense. For years, I would assume that, oh, everybody would graduate from high school. And then I looked at the rates, like, what do you mean? That's like easy. How could someone not do this? But that was the reality. So in order to succeed, I had to quickly start shifting who I wanted to spend my time around. How can I start attracting the people that I want to do business with, versus just kind of sitting there twiddling my thumbs like, yeah, this is not going to work at all. So that was, I'd say, one of the biggest setbacks, because like I said, when you're used to dealing with a level of high achievers and performers, and suddenly you're taken out of that environment, it's like, go build it yourself, it changes everything.
Yeah. Wow. So you got challenged because you had a paradigm that you were existing within, in an environment that was conducive to success and progress and easy flow. And then you get into this reality, and you're surrounded by people who might have challenges with integrity, might have challenges with being clear on what they said that they were going to do, and clear in their communication. I could see how that would be super challenging. So, what was really the most like painful part about all that? Like, where did you get stuck, or where was it most difficult? Was it like relating to people? Was it dealing with people not honoring their commitments? Like, how did you get stuck with that?
For me, it was just a lot of it was the mindset that when you're around a lot of high achievers, it's just that thought of like, hey, let's do it. And that was the most thought that went into it. Like, let's just get it done, versus, come on, guys, you can do this. Yay. So that was a struggle, because of I don't understand why people just don't want to dive in and do it. And even to this day, it still frustrates the living crap out of me. I want to say, okay, let's just go knock this out. And I'm like, no, why not? It's not hard.
Wow. That's awesome, man. So I hear that there was a lot of frustration because, people just you didn't, there's a disconnect, right? How you were born and your values, and how you're raised, how you see the world. It's like opportunity, get it, and how they were raised is opportunity. That's
for the other people. Like, really, where does it say this? I didn't see this written down somewhere. That opportunity, no, for the other guys, no.
Awesome, man. Awesome. So you've done a lot of episodes on your podcast, and I'm sure you've had to really learn how to relate with people and get in their world and understand them and communicate with them.
Yes.
What are some of the lessons that you've learned to be able to do that quickly and get into people's perspective and frame of mind? Because it sounds like that had been a challenge with people who weren't high achievers, but nonetheless you're still dealing with lots of different perspectives and paradigms with people who come on your show. So how do you build that rapport quickly and get into sync with them?
Oh, it's simple. I stack the deck in my favor.
Oh yeah.
And what I mean by that is, it's not just interviewing anybody and everybody, because then there's could be times like, wow, this is painful, because you learn that lesson the hard way. Like, oh yeah, this person would be great. And the best analogy I can think of is, if you ever seen a preview for a movie,
Yep.
and then you go see the movie, you realize all the good parts were in that 2-minute preview.
Yep.
It's kind of like that.
Oh my
So you have to learn to look a little bit deeper when you're evaluating someone. Like, do I want to interview this person? Do they have substance? Because there's some people you want to start talking to, and you're like this, oh my gosh, I can't get anything else out of them. Someone just make the power go out. Something make the pain stop.
Right.
Because there's nothing that you can do there. Because no matter how hard you try to pull information out, it's kind of like, yeah, I did that. Like, can we get some more energy in you? Like, can you go run around the block once or twice to get the adrenaline pumping a little bit? So you learn real quick of different signs to look for. So I would start evaluating what people were saying on social media, how engaging they were, of just little subtle cues that I would see in terms of patterns of the people that were really fun to be with when I'm recording, and others are like, here's the pattern of the people that are boring. Avoid those. So it was just that process, but I had to go through it to avoid, creating content that I thought, this is not up to that standard that I want. So this is the only way to do it, is to stack the deck in my favor. So do I have to say no to people? Yes. Do they have an amazing story? Sure. But until they can rise up and learn to communicate it, I can't pull it out of them. Exactly. I can't want it more than someone else.
I love that. I love that, man. So that's gold, and you do the preparation work. It sounds like that's a big theme for you in life. You prepare to succeed, and then that leads you to your success more easily in flow. So once people are on the show, you've qualified them, you've vetted them. What do you find makes the best experience to get the best out of the guests? And for everyone listening, this is another, like, we can frame this in a way so when people out there are meeting new prospects, or they're whatever it might be, with friends, in a mastermind, coaching, teams, how can they get the most out of their interactions with other people? So how do you get it out of the guests? How do you amplify the experience? How do you 10x it? What's some ways that you do that? And how can our audience do that on their own?
The way that I would, quote unquote, say 10x it, it's I look for how I can be able to have as much fun as possible while providing value. Because if you think about it, people learn and they recall things based on emotions, based on how they feel. So unless I'm eliciting emotions where it's either happiness, sadness, excitement, you think of the core emotions that are tied to memories. Unless I can exhibit those from people and pull them out, then the content is not going to matter. So I have to structure the interview in such a way that I know that I'm hearing something that's important. How can I create laughter or some other great emotion here? So when people listen to it, it's going to trigger that emotion within them, and they're going to remember it. So that's the key to everything. When you're going to relate with people, then you want them to remember who you are and what you do. Learn to elicit emotions. And then learn when you're interacting with them, what motivates someone. Are they motivated because they want to move away from pain or towards pleasure? And once you know that, and then help someone, your ideal customers, buy, then it's easier to structure your content in such a way that you listen to the right emotion at the right time in the right format. So when someone's thinking about a particular problem, you've now created an anchor with your problem to your solution. And now they think of you whenever they think of, like, oh my gosh, I need help with this. I know just the person to call because you planted that seed.
Wow, that's beautiful. I love that. And, more specifically, I hear when they think of, I need help with something, because of the strong emotion that we embedded into them, they were able to feel it themselves because of the interview. So not only do you and I have to feel the amazing emotion or deep emotion, but it also has to get to the audience, right? Like they also have to feel it, which is another art in itself. Like, because you and I could be having a blast and just being weird, but other people might not. It might not resonate with them. So we have to have like all three parties in mind when we're doing
right.
This.
Exactly. And that just comes through practice.
Yeah.
When you're hearing different stories, you're hearing the conversation, how can you be able to convey it? And one of the easiest ways to do that, even if, let's say, you're speaking on the phone with somebody, you want to be dynamic in your movements, because what people don't realize is that your energy changes with your movement. That, like, for me, like being on camera like this, it's fun to me. But the hard part is all my movement essentially is taking place with my hands. Yeah. Even though, like, if you were to watch me the whole time, my entire body has moved. Like, my feet have not really stayed in one spot. Because I think, like, if I'm going to be on stage giving a presentation, I need to be able to bring that same energy if I'm recording a podcast, if I'm on a sales call, or if I'm on a call with a client. Bring the same intensity, because it can be felt on the other side.
Wow. That is beautiful, man. Beautiful.
Of course. It has to be, man. It has to be.
That's awesome. Dude, everyone listening, Byron is dropping the gold, and he's going to share with you how to get more of this in probably another 10 minutes or so. Still got some time. But, you know, Byron, we're loving this interview, man. You're a superstar. Thank you for sharing all this gold with us. And I'm curious, is there any other powerful secrets to, unlocking our gifts or achieving more success that we might not yet have covered in this interview?
I think one of the things that is so critical for people to do, it's to remain hungry. Because what happens so many times is we reach a state of being comfortable. Like, I got all these things, I'm good. And what happens is you plateau, you start self-sabotaging yourself. Like, I don't need to make those extra calls. I don't need to do these other things, because you're comfortable where you're at. And then because of that, if something happens, then suddenly you're like, oh no, you're in a panic state. And then you're becoming reactive. Versus if you're always hungry for more, you're never going to stop doing the things that are a necessity on a day-to-day basis. How can you grow within yourself? How can you grow in your business? Because you always remain hungry. Because you think about it, if you look back in society when it really turned back the clock, when it was more of hunter and gatherer society, they could never become comfortable. Because if they became comfortable, they would starve. So they had to keep going. Where were they going to find the next meal at? How are they going to survive the winter? It was always being hungry to keep going versus, we're good. We have everything. We have food that's delivered by our smartphones. We don't have to go anywhere. No. Right. They had to go and get it.
Yes. Gosh. So stay hungry. And do you have any practices on really amplifying and diving deep into that hunger, expanding that hunger?
It's really simple. Set extremely big, unrealistic type goals. And the reason for that is throughout life, we be conditioned, oh, you should be more realistic with your goals. Maybe you should tone it down a little bit. So because of that, people are conditioned to make really small goals versus you want to make ones that are really big and scare the crap out of you that probably don't even sound realistic or attainable in any fashion whatsoever. But because it's so far out of reach, it forces you to start thinking differently. Well, if I were to do that, what would I have to do? So if you think about it, what's better? If you set a really high, almost unattainable goal and miss it, even by a lot, than setting a goal that's really small and actually achieving it. And that's what happens with most people. They set that small goal and they actually do it versus you set a bigger goal. Because let's say that the goal is to impact the lives of 100,000 people. And at the end of the day, you did 30,000. That's still way more than, let's say, you were trying to plan for 1,000 people. Right. So that's why it's better to shoot for that bigger one, because you're still going to have a bigger impact than if you set a small one.
Yep, absolutely.
And then you're going to learn, like, well, because you didn't hit that, what didn't go right, and do it even better the next time.
Yes. I love it. I love it. I love it. So it's that, I also hear the thinking big. It takes the same amount of energy and time that it does to think big as it does to think small. It's just like accessing that imagination. That muscle might not be so strong. That, what would it take? What would it be like? That muscle might not be so strong to think those big goals. But once we get into the habit of it, the subconscious programming of, man, all I do is think big, then that's who you are as an identity.
Exactly. I like to joke and say that you want to think big everywhere in your life except for one thing. When it comes to finding a dentist, then you want to find the dentist with small hands.
I love it. This is true.
Yeah, exactly. Because all you need is that visual. Small hand trying to work on your mouth, or someone that's gargantuan like bear paws.
No,
Which is going to work better in that case?
small, teensy hands.
Right. No. I'm sorry. You should go do something else. You over there, small hands, come over here.
That's awesome, man. Awesome. And for everyone who's listening, Byron just evoked laughter.
Exactly.
I love it. I love it, man. It's cool. So, really, we want to get the final takeaways from this interview, man. What you really want people to receive, and, we can focus on what that one action is, and then we'll also get into how they stay connected with you. You can share some of your goals for 2018, but really, let's focus on the one takeaway, the one action that you really want people taking.
The one action, what I want everybody to do, which is extremely important, is to write down what do you truly want in life. And write it down from this standpoint, there are no restrictions, there's no limits. If you could have anything you wanted, what would it be? And write it down. Because then once you have that list, look back on it and ask yourself another question. How can I make that happen? And let that set things into motion. Now, granted, some things when I say be unrealistic, some of them are like, okay, let's tone that down a little bit. If it's going to be you want to, let's say, fly to the moon. Well, you kind of have to, let's bring it down to like what's possible right now, because technology, like man has been back to the moon since the early 70s here. So we kind of need to do something that is possible within your capabilities or within like a certain region. Not saying there's limiting beliefs there, but you have to look at like, well, if someone hasn't done this in a while, like, yeah, let's say give Elon Musk a couple more years, then you can write that down. So that so then what are those things that you can be able to do that it might be an extremely far stretch of reach to get there? It's deep down inside it's possible, because then you're going to figure out how you can build the right teams of people, what resources you need to attract, how do you need to grow internally, externally to make it all work. And that's the biggest thing that anybody can do. And the most important thing about it is to stay consistent and work on it every single day, because I'm using an example from fitness. If someone spent 30 years of their life turning into something that's more round than anything else, it's not going to be solved in one day at the gym. Right. So you have to look at that same perspective everywhere in your life. If you spent your whole life being around negative people and have negative emotions, all these things, the choice happens immediately. Yeah. But it's the practice over time that makes the difference, and you have to stay committed to it for the long term.
The re-decision, the re-choosing, morning after morning after morning, because it's easy to say, today I'm not going to choose that. Today I'm not going to choose positivity. Today I'm just going to unleash some hell on some people.
Right, exactly. You tie it to breathing. You're going to make this decision because just as you're deciding to breathe today, you're going to do these things, because I guarantee you do it that way. You're going to do it because you're not going to want to sit around holding your breath. You're like, nope, I'm not breathing today. Good luck with that, buddy. It's not going to work out so well.
That's a good one. Like tie your goal, it's as important as breathing. And whenever you're not doing it, then just stop breathing and just try to see how long that lasts.
Right, exactly. You're like, okay, I give up. I'm going to go do this now because breathing's a whole lot easier.
Yes. I love it. Awesome, man. So tell us about your 2018, what that's looking like for you and what we can expect from you, Byron.
Well, 2018 is going to be a beautiful year, I can tell you that. It's going to be in terms of releasing different products, different things that are going to help people in a variety of fashions, because it's that year. Every year we have the opportunity to make a decision. So this is that year to do something bigger and grander than I did this past year. Like, you have to look at something as your years. A year might be in terms of preparation for what you are going to do. So this is the year of execution to make these big things happen. So one of the things is be able to influence people and help more people attract the clients that they need. So one of the things I put together, especially for the people who are listening, if you go to byroningraham.com/free guide, I put together a guide on how you can be able to attract, using social media, your ideal clients, because so many people, they attract the ones they don't want. And here's the easiest way to look at it. If you have a client calling you and you see their name come up on your number and you think, oh crap, and put whatever word you want in there, when you see their name, they're probably not the ones you need to work with. So that's why this is about how you attract the ones that you do. So when you see them, you're like, yes, I love this person, and you want to talk to them.
Wow, that's awesome. I know there's a saying that if it's not a heck yes, it's a heck no, right? Like,
Exactly.
Insert words that you want there.
Right.
So
Yep.
it's like if working with these clients is not a heck yes, and like it gets you excited, gets you out of bed in the morning, then it's a heck no. And figure
Right.
out what that heck yes is, get clear on who you need to become to achieve that, to attract that, to do that, and then start
Right.
taking action steps towards it.
Exactly. That's exactly what we must do.
Awesome, man. So how do people stay connected with you to get more of the gold and the wisdom that you just dropped all over us and shared with us, man? Super appreciate it. How do they stay connected?
Easiest thing to do is to go to byroningraham.com. Go there, or you can connect with me on Facebook.
Awesome. Awesome, man. Dude, Byron, this has been a joy and a pleasure of an interview. I knew it would be. And for everyone who hasn't yet heard the interview where Byron interviewed me, that was a lot of fun too. Definitely go to his site and check that out as well. And check out all his gold and his resource, byroningraham.com/free guide, and get that so you can really get clear on what's right to do, what will work, and get clear on what won't, and stop doing that stuff. Let it go. And Byron, really, dude, thank you for empowering entrepreneurs to succeed. Thank you for helping people to really master themselves and create their reality, man. We appreciate you.
Oh, you're welcome.
Yeah. Awesome, man. Well, you have the best day ever. Keep up the amazing work. Make 2018 epic, the best year ever, and we'll see you soon, okay?
Oh, definitely. Awesome. We'll do.
Awesome, man. Take care.
All right. Take care.